Hey everybody, this is Vulcan Wolverine. This is Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. It's Sunday. It's 11:11 a.m. Um, it's December 4th, 2022. Oh, I think it's actually like 1:11 because this clock's like 2 hours off on the computer. Hope everybody's surviving and making it through. I guess I just wanted to make a report on what's going on with me. You know, I know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. There's just, it is it's a really dark time. I'm having trouble like on how I want to convey things because I'm getting pretty messed up. I'm going through the valley and kind of whittling down these biometrics and fighting the targeting, but it's very, very difficult. It's a war. I mean, it's a war for my life. And I know that a lot of y'all feel that out there. Um, I just had lunch with my parents, and I was like talking to my mom about just getting out of the country because we're like talking about Havana syndrome. The Senate knows about this. The Senate knows that they're torturing and experimenting with direct integrated directed energy weapon systems on people. It just doesn't do anything about it. It's like a national security issue. So they're dragging their feet on the Havana syndrome thing while our country, like a lot of other really bad things happen. We know, right, as targeted individuals, we know about this technology, right? How advanced it is. It's directed energy. They could easily fix it so people could have balanced money and energy and make everything good for the population. We know that. So we know that this is like a targeted thing on the population, like the economy wise and all the other things going on. I see everybody wearing their masks again, and I'm like, oh, okay, oh, the media just whenever they want to, oh yeah, yeah, Omicron's like back, but then these huge issues, like I was sitting there, oh my God, and it's horrible, guys. I was sitting there with my mom, and it's like I went to Thanksgiving with them too. I'll talk about some of that. I think I want to talk about some of that. Just kind of talk about what I haven't talked about in a while. I was gonna maybe talk about what's going on with Kanye. He is a microwave mind control survivor, or what you want to call it. Speaking on the Alex Jones show in front of millions of people, he was being remotely microwaved. Like I think that happened a while back, a couple of years ago, and he deals with that kind of MK Ultra in front of millions of people. He's like talking about stuff and he's saying the wrong things. He's like, I think he's like learning about, like, he's just saying things in the wrong way, right? And that's caused a big stir. But I kind of wanted to talk about that. That's a whole can of worms. um but it's very, very tough, but I'm getting ahead. It's like I'm making moves, positive moves, but it's against very vicious military slaughter. Like the guy on my V2K is like, I'm tired. He says he's tired. They put this in the chatter box, of course. He's tired. He wants to kind of get me done, and I have something like the biometrics up here, and I'm making some headway, but I don't want to talk about details of where I think things are because it's just too crazy. I listened to some of the things that Dr. Horton said about, implants in certain places. It's kind of just too crazy, but I'm using the magnets and I'm wearing it down. But the problem is over here, I have like a little clump, and they will use it to really to hurt this, and it's very difficult. It causes like massive, like I say mutilate. I've been saying mutilation for years. It's like tension headaches that make you feel like your head's gonna pop, and then they're doing the directed energy to the brain too. Very intense because right, they're not being monitored. They can kind of do whatever they want. I think as long as they do bad stuff, like they monitor to make sure that they're doing evil stuff. And this is a protocol. Like the guy is trying to finish me off to terminate me. Brian was right about that. At a certain point, it's like my attackers won't let me go because they're like afraid I'll come back and sue. They're also afraid of what I'm going to say, right? they're doing a V2K, like somebody's rolling something above me and the V2K is going. Um, if I get the magnets in the right places, I can get the V2K to totally stop and the high pitch ring sound. But then when I'm sleeping, I can't cover all my bases. It's so crazy. It's like I was talking about, and my dad's kind of like, it really hurts me because he's being targeted so badly. He doesn't know it, and he's just like, well, just keep it up, He's like, just keep going and stuff like that, and he treats it like mental illness, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it with him. If it was just an aggravate, I wouldn't even want to talk about it with him. But it's so serious. It's like this guy and then the conversation with my parents, I get back to my condo, and the dude intensifies the torture. He's feeling emboldened because as long as he doesn't get caught, he's feeling emboldened. So he's pushing me into, I have to speak out about it. I'm going to have to go get another DTI. The DTI MRI can check your white matter tracks, can show the changes in your white matter tracks. So I'm going to have to push forward with certain things. It's very difficult because I'm just trying to like have a relationship with my family, just survive during the day, and it's a 24-hour a day. The guy's pushing, like we need to push, we need to do this. Like they're talking about murdering me 24 hours a day now, and it's not happening, but it is. It's wearing me down, and then I'm wearing the biometrics down, and it's this impasse, it's this clog, right? This clog up of just failure that they keep throwing money on, that they've thrown money on, and they can't let me go because I had these biometrics put into me when I was a fucking child, right? An innocent child. I've had so much crime done to me for so long that they can't let me go now. Like they've spent so much time doing crime to me that it's impossible that I can live or have my own thoughts. But we're going to funnel money into murdering innocent citizens and throw $100 billion to Ukraine, right, for a proxy war. That's the same thing. The Ukraine proxy war with Russia is the same thing they're doing with us. They're poking a bear, right? They're poking us, and they send money to the failure, right? Ukraine's a failure. It's money laundering, and it's like that. The microwave attackers are kind of like Ukraine, screwing with Russia, and they want Russia to retaliate and do things. There's no way that, and I don't believe in violence against this. It just all of my tenants don't believe in that, and it doesn't work. They've cornered the market on violence, but we can do some really creative things. We're seeing Elon Musk. He bought Twitter, and now he's like putting the shoes on the other foot, right? In a lot of places, a lot of creative activity is kind of pushing back against the system. I see that the global elite, they're retards, and this genocide that they want to do is not going to go off like they want. It's failing, and I want to survive through it. I really want to survive. I want to say this. I want to say this, guys. Like, yeah, like I guess when you're being attacked or tortured or something like that, we talk about fear, and there's been a lot of like messing with me with the remote neural manipulation on my fight or flight that I've really realized, like inside. Uh, I don't fear death. I fear not getting. I think I said this on the last video. It's really given me an opportunity to understand what I really want in life. That's one of the good things about this. But you got to get through it, right? You got to get through it. You can't like they can't destroy your brain and then you're mentally ill forever or mentally injured forever or dead. But I realized a lot that like if I finished off the things that I wanted to do in life, I would be like, okay, I'm ready to go. I think my dad's kind of at that phase. Um, it's so sad what they've done. Like the global leadership, and these are like global mandates pressed down through federal mandates on this experimentation, and our nations don't see like whatever nation you're in where they're experimenting on you or targeting you, we're not seeing any kind of benefits, right? Like any kind of medical, like, oh, we're curing mental illness or we're making people smarter. We see our people becoming dumber and more poisoned. So these programs are not to help our people. Like none of this, and they're watching people, right? And they're like, oh, they're false flagging somebody. So they're doing the brain mapping and they're false flagging people and they're going, oh, somebody using the bathroom. Oh, that's disgusting. You're disgusting because they're trying to psyop you, right? So they're almost learning human behavior in the mind backwards. We're learning backwards, but we're putting data into servers, right? I say we. I'm a target of this. The people doing this, right? The New World Order is like putting this data into servers, and they're just rolling it up to the globalists, to the elite, to these intelligence agencies that have been totally invaded and taken over, and then it comes back and then it attacks kids, right? It attacks kids with the same genetics of whatever you are as like whatever you are, they can target that kind of genetics, that kind of personality or whatever. So it's been rough. I've been getting through. Like my thing is like God's given me a lot of strength, but being pressed upon 24 hours a day in this kind of fight, it's I incurred exhaustion, and I don't deal with it right. I don't know how to deal with it because my parents, I don't want to be a burden on them, right? Like I was saying today, I'm like, I've heard, okay, and this is the thing, like I'm exhausted. Like I'm fucking exhausted. This guy's and he's pushing it every day. Like there'll kind of be moments during the day where he's not pushing, but then he says on the V2K, okay, is everybody ready? We're gonna go ahead and push. And then like my head will feel like it's crushing in, and I'll have a like an episode of a caused episode. Um, and one of the things I say like, oh man, they're trying to murder me. If they were doing this level and I was getting this kind of ahead of the biometrics at the beginning, it'd be nothing. But since they've been torturing me for so long, my body's so exhausted and it's bringing me to places that it's like, oh my God, I could have died, right? So I want to explain that. I don't want to scare a bunch of targeted individuals. The way this works, there's chasms between, oh well, we're not really intensely putting the directed energy to the brain that much, but it's been 10 years, right? It's been 10 years of overt torture. They've targeted me my whole life, but 10 years of the Zerzetsung overt torture. So these chasms of no one's watching them. We've been torturing somebody for 10 years, but we're doing the same levels as we did at the beginning, and no one's really talking about the wear and tear on the brain and the body, right? Because we're just seeing how things work, and no one really understands what's going on. I mean that's why corruption and this kind of stuff can go on is because like no one's watching it, and they're just gonna. It's a bad culture too. This needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped, and this is really big. It's big. It's big worldwide, but I see a lot of fighting back. I do see hope, but for my situation, I'm like, oh my God, these people are like saying they won't let me go, and I want to move on, right? I'm like, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to break these boundaries. This is what I do in every hard situation in my life. I kind of just get past it. But it's the guy on the V2K is like, you're not getting out of this. We're going to terminate you. Like, and this is protocol. He's like, it's protocol. Like, so Brian's right about they'll try and do that. Like, I never expected this. Like, towards the end, I was like, they'll just put me on AI and they'll just tone it down and just leave me alone. They'll just tag me after like a long time of doing the intense torture, right? But it's no, it's intensified. And the gang stalking because of what's going on in our country, and everybody's like, doesn't have money and is trying to survive. They're going into the arms of the state. And if y'all want to look at the my last videos, I called that like 3 years ago. I said they're gonna screw over everybody in the country. Everybody's gonna go to the arms of the state. They're gonna start doing this more. We've been targeted for so long, but then they're just dumping. It's an automated turnkey system, right? So they just dump all this shit on us. Like it just gets dumped on the targets who've already been tortured for like decades and experimented on. Complete just humans don't matter in these biometrics and these weapons and the Havana syndrome. Havana syndrome. It's targeting with weapons. It's killing people with weapons and torturing them with weapons. Havana syndrome. I haven't heard much about that, like what's going on with Havana syndrome, but I've kind of just been trying to deal with like getting above this to a point like I'm almost at a point where I know I'm certain he couldn't cause like an aneurysm or a seizure or something like that. The people that are targeting me, and I have suspicions. I'll just say it. I have suspicions that the implants are in my ears, like at least in the left ear. And I remember hearing Dr. Horton say that if you have V2K, you probably have a little implant like in the inner ear. And it was like 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And I was like, oh, Dr. Horton doesn't know what she's talking about. And I put the magnet over there and I'm getting a lot of benefit. Like it's stopping the pulsing and the pain in my shoulder. So I have leads in my clavicles, in my chest and everything, and it's hooked up in some way, right? There's a wiring up in some way, which we're told that like we're told in society, but even as target individuals, people are told in society if you think you have implants in your teeth, you're insane, and definitely in your ears, you're insane. And then in the target individual community, we had Robert Duncan saying, "Oh yeah, people were trying to pull out their teeth, thinking," and so I was thrown off a trail of things that are normative. It's normative. They implant people in their teeth, in their ears. They put biometrics in this thing. Okay, my parents are here. Somebody's knocking at the door. So, uh, hold on a second. I'm gonna go answer it. I think it's just my dad. Hold on. Okay, I'm here. Hold on. Hey, thank you. I'm making a video. So thanks, Dad. Okay, guys, I'm back. Oh, that was my dad. He was giving me toilet paper. So they're in town. Like I went to Florida, and I'm gonna do this video about 40 minutes, just kind of talking about what kind of has been going on. I'll just maybe I'll call it like late Thanksgiving or something. But I went up to Florida for Thanksgiving, um, and then the night before, I wish I had. I don't have them. I'll get them for the next video, but I went to wash some clothes the night before, and just it was like 30 minutes in the washer, and then 30 minutes or an hour in the dryer. I was over here, and my clothes were over my parents' place. Right, I went to go wash my clothes where my parents stay, and I went over there to get my clothes, pulling out my clothes, and someone had cut my underwear, like the tops, all the bands off of one of my underwear. Like they'd gone in there the hour that I was in here, right? So like doing that stuff all the time, like even going in my parents' place, like in a place where like these are like 60,000, $100,000 units, right? Um, which I'm blessed that my mom, like, it was terrifying today, like because I'm like I need to get out of the country. Like okay, let me not babble here. But like so people breaking in, and so when I went to Florida, I did the and I don't know if I've told y'all this, but what I do to block the door is I take some toilet paper and I close the door and I'll put the toilet paper over the top lock, and then I'll tape it with some like clear tape with some like real sticky tape, so if anybody wants to use a key to get into my place, they're going to have to rip that toilet paper. It's a really good idea. It's deterred people from breaking in. I have to do that every time I leave the place. And it's not because every time someone would break in, I don't know when they're going to break in. I don't know when the gang stalkers are going to break in, right? But like, so I went to Florida. I went overboard on that. I didn't just put toilet paper on the door, on the lock. I put baby powder like about 10 feet into my place, and then I put like a stack of stuff. I stacked up stuff like right there, to where somebody'd have to go through the baby powder and move all the furniture and stuff like that, and it stopped people from coming in while I was gone. Because I had so many break-ins. Even when I put just tape on the door, they would just take the tape off the door and come in. And like no, everybody around here is like, I guess the slander's so bad that it just they don't care, you know. But it was like I was talking to my parents today, um, and I'm just telling my mom, like, I'm getting somewhere with I'm knocking out. This is a very dangerous thing for me to be talking about. Like, so this is just something that happened to me, right, as targeted individuals. But my attackers are so worried. They're gonna push harder on these biometrics because I can't look like I'm winning, right? So like I'm trying to put like Kyle does in his life, and you guys, we should all do in our life. When we come upon a hard situation, we ascend, we rise above it, we move on, right? This situation is a clash with this motherfucker on there, and he ain't letting me go. And they're trying to like he's like trying to act like it's just a foregone conclusion that he's about to kill me, right? But what it's really doing, it's hurting my brain, like it's hurting my nervous system, and it's just pushing this failure along that makes everyone's life a living hell. It's communism coming in. It's a different form in our countries through this new world order, but it's bad like communism, like Zionist communism. Um, I guess I'll talk about Kanye. I think he's being microwave mind controlled. That's all I want to talk about. Like, there's a lot of nuances with what he talks about leaders, the leadership of the New World Order. Let me just say, all of our leaders are corrupt, right? White, Jewish, black, Asian, whatever. All of our leaders are corrupt in the world because the New World Order. They're all the New World Order is buying all of our leaders. But my mom told me something when I was younger, and she said, he who makes the gold makes the rules, right? So who has all the money in those leadership structures that are corrupt, right? And then you'll find your answer of who's doing this. And it's not a blanketed thing at all. It's not even close to a blanketed thing. So people need to be careful about how they talk about it. And like all my Jewish viewers, like I'm talking about like there's corrupt Jewish leadership of like maybe 1% or something like that, some saturation, but it's like the whites and the Masons. It's like me to the Masons. So there's like many Jewish families that are just great and awesome and everything like that. Just like me, just like my family compared to what the Masons are doing. It's that same kind of structure. So just think of it that way. But it is important. It is important that we talk about it in some way. Who's doing what to protect the people because leadership will sometimes throw the people that don't know what they're doing out in front and create wars, right? Create troubles with people so they can utilize that. So we want to. So it needs to be good versus evil, right? Jewish, black, white, whatever you are, good versus evil. So they can't use us against each other. They can't be like, oh, they were always going to hate us, right? They're always going to hate us, or like, oh, these people are, oh, they're all doing stuff, right? So we need to be careful, and we need to go with good versus evil and be careful about how we say things. People do need to go back and look at World War II and examine like everything that went on there. So with Kanye, like certain things, like just certain things he shouldn't. You can't say it. You can't say certain things like that. You have to go through history and show certain things, right? Um, there's so many bad. Everyone did bad, horrible, evil things in World War II. The way it played out, though, I think people need to go see, and the exact happenings are important for now. They're important for now, especially the Bolshevik Revolution is important for it's important for the mindset of the elite. Because you had Biden and you had Klaus Janson who just had another heart attack. So are they hitting him with microwave weapons to get him out of there or something like that? Who knows what's going on? Because these directed energy, they're just flying all around, hitting everybody. Everybody's hitting everybody. Kanye was in front of an audience of millions of people, and he's a definite microwave mind control. Definite. I look at him in the way that he's saying things that are really wrong. His talking is stilted, right? Like when he was joking about Netanyahu, it was like almost like somebody was stopping him on it. Like, and my attackers can kind of stop me when I'm like trying to think of something, trying to think of what I'm going to say. I think that it happened years ago. I think that he had beef with Jay Z. He said something like about Jay Z, and he was going after Jay Z, and I think Jay Z had a connection to something. I think maybe in some people around that, I think maybe they use Black Cube, and I think Black Cube is the one who's like messing with Kanye, separated him from his family, and did a lot of stuff, and then now, I mean, I think there's a real worry because what he's, and like the things he said, I know some of the things, the connotations of them, some of y'all are like, man, that's like evil what he said or whatever. But he's a good man with a good heart. And he doesn't, when he says stuff that's wrong, it's not like he's hating on anybody. He's just trying to get the truth. He's trying to get to the truth of what's happening to him and what some little groups are doing and everything like that. Um, but it's a conspiracy. I mean, the world is run on a conspiracy. The world, everything that we're taught is conspiracy theory. Those are the things that we should be prioritizing, and that's why everyone's being poisoned and dying and becoming less smart, and everything's kind of falling apart, right? Because we're not dealing with priorities, and they're making new, bigger problems, like weird problems, right? This microwave torture, it creates this problem with my family and the community that doesn't need to happen. Then the guy on the V2K is like, I'm taking care of it. Like he says stuff like, this is getting depressing as he's torturing me. And it's been so long and my body can't take it. The dude's like, this is getting depressing. We need, like, he's not causing it. Like he's not taking any responsibility for what he's doing. Like it's a video game on the electronic warfare. Like he's just like, this guy's just falling apart on his own. Like it's the mentality of it is so satanic and so severe, so severely retarded. I was watching Gremlins last night. I had a hankering for that because somebody, I think somebody like sent me something about Gremlins like a couple of years ago with the targeting, and I was like, holy shit, that's what I'm sorry. Excuse my language. Language is the least of our worries, though. Somebody was like sent me something about Gizmo, and I was like, I feel like Gizmo. I feel like that because people are, how water gets poured onto them and then it creates the other Mogwais. I feel like I got the biometrics and then had some people on me and then they ate food after midnight. Like it passed midnight in our countries and then they turned into gremlins and then they're attacking the city, right? So if you want a kind of funny thing, I sometimes do that. I'm like looking for things to exercise, my mind still. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad, like I can affect it, but it's like there's pushback and then like speaking out. This is like that's why I haven't been making a lot of videos because I am a big mouth. And I'm a little bit like Kanye, but I'm a little bit more tactful. And there's a lot of complications there. So I'm not saying like there's a lot of complications there. There's a lot of connotations. We need to understand about connotations in our society. We need to all look at the truth, Jewish, white, black, everyone, Asian, everyone, and look at things and not generalize at all. Not generalize at all so we can protect all of us. Jewish, white, black, good, the good people, right? So we need to know about who's doing what because they'll use us because the white people that are Masons don't give a crap about me and my family, and they want to use me for experimentation and warfare and all this crap, right? So you got to think about Jewish leadership if you're one of my Jewish viewers, right? How they'll use you guys and lie to you guys and lie to us and try and get some shit started, right? Because that's what they do. That's what communists do. Um, so I'm more about like we got to protect. It's good versus evil. Whoever's doing evil is the enemy. It's not genetics at all, and everyone should be like that, right? Not generalization. I hope I explained that right. Those are choppy topics, and I'm being so targeted, right? That I don't want to go into things that are uber nuanced and things like that. I don't want to hurt feelings because good people need help. I don't want to hurt good people. So I don't want good people to feel like they're put out or anything like that. Um, I don't know. My attackers just kind of wipe me, brain wipe me. But yeah, so I'm like I'm getting there, man. I'm squeezing through, but it's a serious thing because it's been going on so long with me, right? And the mentality of the program is just like this guy, we can kill him, and nobody will know, right? So there's a chasm between what things look like and what's really happening, and that's very, very dangerous. I'm trying to think of what to do here, but my thinking is, and this is for all targets, the Havana syndrome, and all of our senators already know. We can contact the DOJ and things like that. Court cases here. I can't get any. Like I have leads on my shoulders, leads everywhere, and doctors like gaslight the shit. They're not touching this, right? And I think it's more complicated because I got, you know, not just body area network, but I've got complications where it's like, do I need help from a dentist and a doctor? And that's going to be like impossible. Um, so I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, I'm exhausted. Like I'm way more than exhausted. These are unprecedented levels of torture and crimes against humanity, right? Right, but they're just covered up. The guy on the V2K is like, he's the worst because his mentality about this, and it's on Chatterbox. He says, "I'm psyoping you, man," but the psyop becomes his satanic fantasy, right? It's like, oh, this guy, nobody cares about him. We can finish him off and stuff like that. And then they do something. They get me to a place where my body is like convulsing. Like I think I've had some seizures. Um, I'm toning it. I'm getting there. I'm getting there where I'm like gaining more control. I would not have done that. I wouldn't have started doing live streams if I would have known they had biometrics in my body. I would not have done that. That's so stupid because I thought I had way more. I wouldn't have done a lot of things. I would have done a lot of things differently. But God has a plan and a meaning for anything in your life. Um, I still believe that. I still believe that, but I'm like being murdered all the time. It's testing that, but it's so concrete. I know that God exists. I know He gives me strength. He says, this is I want to tell you guys this. And y'all know sometimes I watch movies and shows. Like I try and because I have to use the magnets. I have to sometimes sit and like just watch a show while I have the magnet on there for a long time. Because it's not like you put it on there for 30 minutes and you're good. You got to put it on there for a couple of hours to like suppress it, right? And oh, before I go into this, I want to say I'm almost at like 30 minutes. Before I go into this, I want to say the magnet thing. I don't know. I don't know if you should get them. Like if we had a safe way to get like 3,600 pound pull, one magnets where you could put it somewhere safe. Like I don't know about putting these like I don't. I would say caution, warning, warning, dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. I've squeezed my hands, like I've squeezed my legs and my ankles using these magnets. They've worked. It's worked to give me relief, but they're very dangerous. So I want to give that warning, and I can't say go out and get some of these. I can't do that. But if there's a safe way, and it takes a lot, it takes like 3,000 pound pull at least to affect these things. If you have, or at least the ones that I got. But I wanted to say I was like really feeling down, like kind of for Thanksgiving. It's like I go hang out with my family, but then I go to my room that my mom has for me, and I put my magnets on, and I can't really like hang out with my. I'll have dinner, but then I'm running back to the magnets. So this is, and I have to because if I give it too long, I can feel the directed energy running back through my shoulder or through my chest or down my leg, especially. Like I'll feel my left pinky toe start burning, right? And that's a way that I know they're sending directed energy down the leg and back up to the brain. But they use the arms too. Um, but I just want to say this, like, and thanks. I may talk about Thanksgiving a little bit more, but I was watching this show. I was watching Earth Final Conflict, and I only saw the first season. I never went further because like Boone dies. I don't want to ruin it. It's a great show. Check out Earth Final Conflict. It's a Gene Roddenberry before he died. But there's this part where the Talons kind of comfort me because I feel like we have angels like that, like this one good Talon. And I'm not talking about aliens, but just our Creator, right? In the name of Jesus Christ. But there's this one part where it's like they kind of suspect there's doubt about this leadership of the aliens. And the good one, he says, I can assure you that our intentions are good and like things will work for the good in the long term. And he like grabbed his hand, and I don't know if I cried. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I cried. I get really emotional about stuff like that when the universe is like reaching out to me. But it was like it was almost like something from God saying, "I know this is so painful. In the long term, it means something." Like he was like, "I can assure you," because like I don't doubt God, but I'm like, am I just supposed to die? Am I supposed to be a martyr? Like, are these videos supposed to be there? And am I this guy, this asshole on the V2K? He wins when I don't know. He's like like they get up on me, like they get up on me in my sleep. Like that's where they get the most done. So I don't know what winning is for this Satanist, these Fabianists, right? Look up the Fabian Society. They starve people out slowly. They hit them like slow kill, like they're cowards, like the Fabian Society. And that's what the Masons cop to. Um, I don't want to even talk about that. It's just real big. It like was thrown on me as a child and then done to me, and then there's vengeance being done to me because it's being done to me, right? And there's like this guy, he's a national security issue. Like this is what I was telling my mom. And you see if y'all are watching, they're not showing the Kerry Lake legal actions and stuff like that against the Arizona election. They're not showing it on mainstream news, but local news is putting it on the internet. But what happens is she earned that election. She's being smart and she's not calling it out yet. She's not saying she's getting her legal team ready because if somebody does a crime to you that's like agencies are doing crimes to you, then you call it out, you're the terrorist. Like so if somebody's murdering you and torturing you from childhood, putting biometrics in you, they do crime after crime to your family, and then you like do activism, right? You try and help other people. I'm talking about me. Uh, but you try and help other people you try and help other people, right, with their targeting, and it's like, oh, you're the terrorist, you're the national security threat because you were smart enough to figure out what was going on with you, and you're trying to fight crime in your country. So what does that say when the people who are calling out crime, right, are labeled as terrorists? In Carrie Lake, it's like she is not calling out yet because she knows how the mainstream media will what's it called, will condemn you right off the bat. Like they'll call her election denier and stuff like that. So she's getting all of her ducks in a row. But that's what I was telling mom. Like we have a country, and even the New World Order works this way, where the crime isn't the crime. The organizational structures are doing heavy crime to people who just want to live their normal lives, and the people who just want to live their normal lives go, "Hey, screw you! You're doing big crime to us. We didn't agree to that." Then you're labeled a terrorist, right? So that's the way it works, and you got to look at the New World Order structure and how they're wearing Mao Zedong. And you need to look at the communist revolution in China with Mao Zedong and all these people. They're criminals at the top. That's why everything's saturating is crime, right? That's why they're targeting innocent people. That's why innocent people are picked to be murdered because these people at the top that are like corrupting our governments and leading things, they're corrupt and they're criminals, right? So we know why. We know why this is happening. Um, all right. I was ranting. I was ranting a lot. I need to rant. I need to rant. I don't know. With what I'm going through, it's hard. I want to make some structured videos and read some articles, dive back into Havana syndrome, but I just feel like they're stalling on that. I feel like they're stalling on that, and there's so many fires, right? There's so many fires in a metaphorical sense that this gets lost in the mud. That's another thing that I'm seeing that's happening, right? It's obvious. These things are obvious that I say, but they just create chaos, and then the psychopaths and the criminals have an easier they slither through easier. It makes it harder for normal people that want things structured and want the law, right, when you got chaos just going off everywhere. But it makes things easier for the snake-like criminals like this guy. Oh, and he feels so empowered because I'm talking to my mom. Dude, I got like she was like eating her meal. They're being targeted and their minds are being messed with, but like the look on her, like it's so, she doesn't need this. Like she doesn't need this in her life. And my dad's like, like they're struggling. And like I tell them that I'm like, I know you guys are struggling. I wouldn't say anything if this wasn't so serious. And I was just like, I need to get to another country. And I've heard over the V2K, Guadalajara is good, Nicaragua, but then Guadalajara. But we don't trust the V2K, right? It's the woman. I'm not going to get into all that right now. There's human beings involved in this though, and that's a plus. That's a plus. But you got some people like if you've ever seen that movie. If you ever seen Batman Begins, where Ra's al Ghul just had kind of people, sleeper agents in place when the chaos went off, and then they do they're in their place. There's people like that too, and they knew that things were going to get chaotic. They knew it was like the Black Awakening, right? The Satanic Awakening. But then there's people in these agencies where they were like, "Hey, I was doing this to help the country and to help children in our country, and I see the corruption and what it's doing, and I didn't join for this, right?" So you got those things, right? I've noticed those things just in general. In general, like on the other side of this targeting program, I've noticed there are human beings that are like, I didn't know this was going to be like this. It's not helping anybody, right? Um, but whatever. I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody murdering or following orders, but I mean, we know how it goes in history. If I mean, however however you view World War II, the Nazis, if you view it like that, like the Nazis just taking order and doing terrible things, or the Russian Revolution, it's people doing horrible things. Um, there's some nuances on World War II. Kanye did it wrong. He said things wrong, and you can't do things with connotations like that. It hurts people because there's evil, there's connotations of evil and fear on certain people and stuff like that. And you can't, you got to just go look at World War II. You got to open up book and go through details of this happened and this is the evidence and everything like that. And we've got to be sensitive to good people who are not like up on everything that's going on, and we're all getting screwed over by our leadership. Let me just end it with that. Like, it's not a Jewish thing, it's not a white thing, it's not a black thing. All of our leaders are corrupt as f. But it's just the Jewish leadership. They're better with money, and he who makes the gold makes it. There's some complications there, right? But it's a very small percentage, and I don't know. There are complications where I think just regular Jewish people are really really good, and then there's some complications with genetics with some other that aren't Jewish. So there's things in there. I won't get into all that, but we just got to be really compassionate. And everybody, whatever genetics you are, I think I'm part Jewish. I think I might be because I look at my grandpa truck. So he's like said he's Spanish and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not, but I look kind of Jewish. I look a little bit like. Dude, okay, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, everyone, for that. But you see the. This is what the. Let me tell you. Let me say something about that. It's what the elite. It's what the power structure. They strap bombs to certain topics that they don't want people talking about, right? So it's like walking through a minefield because you want to make sure that good people aren't getting hurt and everything like that. But certain topics, all topics, generalization of topics they don't want us to talk about, they strap bombs to them, connotations, where it's like you've got to, uh, take the wiring off and everything to make sure it doesn't blow up in everybody's faces, right? So they even weaponize just topics of things going on in our world. All right, I love you guys. I hope I didn't say anything outlandish or insulting to any. I love anyone who's good, and I never look at anything in a genetics way. I'm a mutt. I'm like Native American. I have black in me. I have Spanish. I have Polish, Prussian, German. I'm a mutt. So I've got like a bunch of stuff in me. So I'm never, and I'm real smart because of that, because of all these differences, right? And so I see that it's like really good. Like God made everything for a reason. He made everyone for a reason, except evil people. I don't understand that. I don't understand evil like cold-blooded people. I don't understand why they're. We'll go into that on the next one. I love you guys. I gotta kind of shut it down so I can fit it on BitChute. But I'll try and make some more videos. I'm gonna get in trouble for this, like touch and go, but moving forward, right? I'll let y'all know. All right, I love y'all.